All of those updates here on NewsX World. But now, time for us to head to Europe as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on his allies to push for regime change in Russia, warning that without this shift, Moscow will continue to destabilise neighbouring countries even after the war. His comments come hours after a deadly Russian missile and drone attack on Kyiv, which killed now an updated figure we have for you of 11 people. That according to local authorities, and includes a 6-year-old boy. It's also left 100 others injured. Zelensky's remarks were made during a conference marking the 50th anniversary of the Helsinki Accords. This is what the Ukrainian president had to say.
And I believe Russia can be pushed to stop this war. It started it, and it can be made to end it. But if the world doesn't aim to change the regime in Russia, that means even after the war ends, Moscow will still try to destabilize neighboring countries. And we need to fully block Russia's war machine, cut off its arms industry, limit its energy profits, and finally put every frozen Russian asset, including the stolen wealth of corruption, to work defending against Russian aggression. It's time to confiscate Russian assets, not just freeze them, confiscate them and use them to serve peace.
Well, joining us to dissect these comments, Professor Georgi Toleraya, an international affairs expert who joins us live from Moscow. Professor Toleraya, thank you for your time. What's your initial response to Zelensky's comments, potentially looking at a regime change in Russia?
Well, I don't think it deserves any comment, because this guy is real crazy. He is just reproducing the wet dreams of all the Russophobes in the world, and he wants to, he's illegitimate president by himself, but he's speaking about changing the regime, changing the legally elected president of another country, which is supported by the majority, the overwhelming majority of population. There's nothing to comment. This is just something that should be passed without even commenting.
Well, Professor Toleraya, let's look at the current situation, of course. An ultimatum from Donald Trump about a potential set of sanctions for Russia if the war isn't moved towards peace. It does seem that there is Western support for Volodymyr Zelensky. Do you think that's why he's chosen this tact? Because it seems that he now has not just US President Donald Trump, but a lot of Western Europe also on his side going into any potential discussions about peace.
Well, I think he is desperate because the war efforts are less and less, his war efforts are less and less successful, and he doesn't want to talk peace. And Russia have suggested many times to look for a final peaceful solution, not just for a ceasefire, which would only enable Zelensky to rearm himself. So Russia is serious in bringing this war to an end. Zelensky is not. And he is trying to appeal to his Western allies and some elements in the Western society who wants to bring Russia down to get more support. This is I think this attempt won't be successful.
Professor Toleraya, what is Russia's incentive then towards ending the war? You mentioned that Vladimir Putin wants a full and final end, but we know that every discussion that's been had direct between the nations in recent months hasn't led to any progress. What is it exactly that Vladimir Putin wants in order to end this war?
Well, it's actually put all in the Russian project of memorandum, several points, which means the Ukraine being a neutral country, denazified, not with a ideology, and recognizing the events of the last years, the territorial gains of Russia over the last years. These are just several points which are put in our proposal, and Zelensky just doesn't want to discuss it.
Zelensky is obviously saying he doesn't want to give up land that Russia has taken since the launching of that Russian attack in Ukraine, that special military operation as it was named at the time. Do you understand why Ukraine doesn't want to concede territory that was its until recent times, with Russia continuing to make advancements?
Well, then he will have to give up more. And this will be the final result.
Professor Toloroy, if you do stay with us, we are going to move away from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Thank you for your insight and opinions on those matters. But you will stay with us as we look at a ceasefire, of course, between